things too much. But this is all about tea. Taxed enough already. Is it not? Welcome. Let me just say one thing about the Tea Party, because Michelle will likely tell you what the Tea Party is about today on the most basic, perfunctory level, which you're all aware of. But on a deeper level, it's about saving this country. It's the most honorable, most important movement there is in the country today. And the importance of Michelle Bachmann being here today is that Michelle Bachmann will tell you that she's a free market person, she's a Constitution person. And the Tea Party is about fighting to save America from the decline it's in, and to save it from the people who are fighting to maintain the power that they have because of the decline that we're in. It's a simple fight of truth versus evil. And Michelle Bachmann is here to speak truth to us today, so let's welcome her with a wholehearted rowdy.
What you have done is nothing short of remarkable, and the shout that was heard around the world at Lexington Concord, you sent so many of your militiamen down to Massachusetts for that pivotal battle, and but for the brave men and women who've been involved in securing our liberty, we wouldn't be where we are today. And you did a second shout that was heard around the world in the elections of 2010 that was nothing short of stunning. It's what you managed to do by setting a new senator, both of your members of Congress. You have flipped your House, flipped your Senate. Is the ideals that our nation was founded on. As I have seen all across the country, the Tea Party has a set of ideas. It's not a political party like the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. It's so much bigger than those two parties. That's why the left is so afraid of the Tea Party right now, because it's an enormous group of people. It's Democrats, it's independents, it's Republicans, it's libertarians, it's conservatives, it's people who aren't even political. All they know is they love the United States of America. And in that commitment, they see that our country is changing in a way that has nothing to do and is not reflective of the American ideals of our nation. And as they see that, they want the country to come back. Because they say $700 billion bailouts for Wall Street and for foreign banks? Why? What for? I voted against it. Why would you do that? It makes absolutely no sense. to grow the economy by having government spend $1 trillion in stimulus? How's that working out for us? Over 20 months of unemployment, and it's been over 9%. This last month, it went to 8.9%. That didn't work. Then we had a huge increase in the budget that came out. 9,000 earmarks. 9,000 earmarks. How did that work out for us? Then the government took the money and they went on a spending spree. What did they buy? They decided they were going to buy the largest banks in the United States. They bought Bank of America and Citibank. They bought the largest insurance company. This is government. Bought the largest private insurance company in the United States, AIG. We poured over $100 billion down that rat hole. We still haven't gotten out of that mess. Was that a good buy? No. Were the banks a good buy? No. Well, what about GM and Chrysler? No. That was the next action they did. And one of the very first actions of the president was to issue 3,400 pink slips to car dealerships all across the United States. I would imagine even here in New Hampshire, some of your car dealerships got pink slips because people didn't buy cars on their lots? No, because the automobile task force set up by President Barack Obama decided you're going to win, you're going to lose. I call that a gangster government. They just don't like it when you use those terms. They think you're not being necessarily polite. I think it's not about being polite. I think it's about being honest about what's going on. The government took over the banks and the insurance companies and Chrysler and GM. They decided to take over Fannie and Freddie. And those aren't someone's crazy aunt and uncle that are up in an attic somewhere in the basement. Fannie and Freddie were the largest secondary mortgage providers in the country. So did you know today, the United States government owns over 50% of all private mortgages in the United States. So if you have a mortgage on your home, for about half of you, the federal government really does own your home and you're buying it from Uncle Sam. Did you ever think that you would live to see the day when your government owned the largest banks, the largest insurance company, the largest automakers, and over half the homes in the United States? All of that happened within 12 months of Barack Obama becoming president of the United States. That's why it is stunning that we have seen what we have seen. And he didn't stop there. He wasn't content with that, was he? He decided he had to have the health insurance industry too. And so that represents 1/6 of our economy. And in a move that you can only describe as nothing short of outrageous, they passed the bill on Obamacare and we are living with the results. What were we told in the great marketing strategy that we were given about what Obamacare would do for us, the government to take over health care? Barack Obama told us that if we pass the government takeover of health care, what I call socialized medicine, if that passed, your premiums would go down $2,300 a year. How many of you had your premiums go down $2,500? Oh, you're laughing, are you? How many of you seen 20% increases? 40% increases? How is that working for you? And we're also seeing now the beginning of people being denied. Denied whether it's care or denied pharmaceuticals. So what a deal was this? Pay more, get less. What a deal. Maybe that describes why on the Rasmussen poll, more than any other issue since the start of modern polling, there has never been an issue like this one. For over 49 weeks, a majority of Americans, not a majority of Tea Partiers, not a majority of conservatives, not a majority of Republicans, but a majority of Americans have said they want the government to repeal Obamacare. recall during the grand debate on Obamacare that the nation had, how many of you recall the debate when Nancy Pelosi or Harry Reid or Barack Obama came out, and in one of Barack Obama's, what did he give, 50 speeches, 150 speeches? I don't know, it was some enormous number of speeches. How many times do you remember him talking about the fact that we would be spending $105,464 million to implement Obamacare between now and 2019? Who remembers those speeches? I don't. Because there weren't any. Now think of this. Here we have the greatest, most controversial, transformational piece of legislation that we have seen in our lifetimes. And there's no mention that, oh, by the way, oh, we forgot to tell you, I guess, there's $105 billion worth of money in this bill. This is a fraud, and this is deceit. What has been done to the American people. You should feel and it's almost like Washington, D.C. is a twilight zone right now. It's almost like people say, oh, well, so what? It was in the bill. Well, guess what? A certain lady, Speaker of the House, named Nancy Pelosi, famously said to all of us, we have to pass the bill to go. We just didn't know the woman was a prophet, right? She's a prophet in her own time. We did have to pass the bill to find out what it's in it. I wonder what else is in this bill. If we're just finding out now that they put this money in, because this is how it works in Washington, D.C. They pass an authorization bill that creates a program. And that's all that bill does. Then they pass a second bill that funds the program. They don't, it's a two-step process. They don't do it in one step. Can you imagine why? Because we need time. We need time to think these things through if they're a bad idea. Is Obamacare a bad idea? Yes. Well, 54% of the American people have agreed with you for 49 weeks. Guess what? Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, Harry Reid, they figured out this is a bad idea. They're not going to like us if we put this through. So they decided in a very insulting manner to go against what you believe and reject what you think about this bill, and they decided they just throw the money in anyway. Because they wanted to make sure that no matter who gets elected in the next 8 years, it wouldn't matter. Because the results of the election would be neutralized. Because they've already written checks to themselves and post-dated those checks, and Barack Obama has the right to cash those checks every year. Last year he had one that was $6 billion. This year he has one for $5 billion. So when we talk about putting Obamacare into place and implementing it, it's not future, it's right now. As we are sitting here right now, the administration has already written over 6,000 pages of new rules and regulations. And you thought that a 2,900-page bill in the Senate was a big bill? Oh, honey, they're just getting started. This is a bill that will never finish being written. They have 159 new boards. So here you have you on one side, you have your doctor on the other. You used to have to fight with your insurance company. Now you have to fight not only your insurance company, you have to fight 159 boards and 6,000 pages of rules and regulations, all set up to say, no, 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 you can't have it. So again, you're paying more, you're getting less. Welcome to Obamacare. Oh, that's the future. Is that our future? No. That's not my future. New Hampshire, is that your future? No. Oh, I love New Hampshire. Live free or die. And like your other East Coast neighbor, the state of Virginia, their motto there is roughly transcribed to say, death to tyrants. So death to tyrants from Virginia and live free or die. In Minnesota, we're known as the Gopher State. And we're pretty proud of that. Our motto is actually the Star of the North, and we are proud of that, but I am extremely proud of the origin of our nation. And you're it. You are the cradle of liberty right here in New Hampshire. And I cannot tell you how proud I am. And the fact that it is your ancestors who bled and died literally in the soil to be able to birth something called freedom. And I really do believe that we are on the cusp of watching that new birth of freedom again, because you made the down payment in November. You set the bar very high for the rest of the United States. You have given us a standard to which we may aspire. And I look forward for the next year and a half or 2 years to continue to be a part of this story, of the narrative, of calling the nation back to our roots of greatness, calling them back to remembrance of our Declaration of Independence, of the Constitution of the United States, and of the Bill of Rights that secured to the individual rights to keep us free and safe from a big, overweening government. Because that's how the Bill of Rights starts out. Congress shall make no law respecting my rights and your rights. And all the big people in the bubble known as Washington, D.C. love to turn that idea on its head and say, no, it's about making sure that government has rights. They are so foolish. They are so wrong. Because what they fail to understand, that again, the greatness of this nation is the sovereignty of the individual. That is the greatness. American sovereignty as a nation. There's a lot of people at the UN and other organizations that would love to see American sovereignty diminished. We're not going to let that happen, by the way. We are not going to let that happen. But we only have American sovereignty because in our form of government, the individual is sovereign. And that's why the genius of American exceptionalism and the genius of our founders is the fact that we have personal governance. And the founders said, it starts with governing ourselves. When we govern ourselves, then we can govern our families. And then we can govern in our local neighborhood. We can govern, self-govern in our churches. We self-govern in your town hall meetings here in New Hampshire. And then you govern at your state level in Congress. And then we govern as a nation. But it doesn't work at all unless the individual is at the center. And can you imagine ever letting that go? Can you imagine any other nation in 5,000 years of recorded human history having a legacy like that of the United States? And so I'm very much concerned about where our nation is at today. And I was one of only 6 people in the House of Representatives that voted no on the last 2-week continuing resolution in the United States Congress. I did that because we are now, this year, our budget is $3.8 trillion. We will be in debt this year $1.65 trillion. We are spending ourselves right off the cliff right now. And if we don't wake up and smell the coffee, those who are under 35 years of age will never know. They are the debt-paying generation, as we are. They will never know the freedom that we have known. They will know a far reduced standard of living. As a matter of fact, the conservative estimates are that those that are about the age of about 24 today are looking at a tax rate effectively of approximately 75% of their income or higher from all sources by the time they're at the age of maturity in their peak earning years. Is this the America that your parents would think to be? No. My parents weren't willing to be selfish. My parents wanted wanted better. Your parents wanted better. And if you go back to the time of the Pilgrims, there's been approximately 20 generations of Americans. And of course, we all know before that we're Native Americans on this continent. But if you go from the time of the Pilgrims forward with 20 generations, every generation on this soil, if you have asked them, do you live better than your parents? Have you progressed? Has our society progressed? Is your standard of living better than your parents? Every generation, for 20 generations, has confidently said, yes, I stand better because I stand on the shoulders of patriots who sacrificed and who gave for me so that I could do better. Every generation for 20 years. And now I ask an audience, do you believe that your children will enjoy a better standard of living than you have today? No. When we have 107 trillion of unfunded net liabilities staring us in the face right now. We've gone on a party, and government is spending money faster than we can earn it. We know how that movie ends. We've seen it in Greece with the riots. Now consider this. You have tea parties. What do tea partiers do? They peacefully, quietly, it looks like it resembles you going to the state fair or a family reunion. They gather together and they say, we want less government. Yeah. We want limited government. Yeah. We want you to spend more. And then they pick their litter up after them when they're all done and they go home. That's the Tea Party. This group is considered very scary, very dangerous. Then you've got the radical progressives. You see them in Greece throwing Molotov cocktails and breaking glass, and in Spain and in the UK, and oh, maybe Madison, Wisconsin. And let's take it down. More government, bigger government, more spending. What a compare and contrast. Do you see why the radical progressive left is so frightened of how powerful this little movement is represented by tea? They're terribly frightened because your message, our message, touches people all across every political spectrum, every ethnicity, every income level, every spectrum of the United States, from Hawaii to Florida, from Maine to California, from Minnesota to Louisiana, across the spectrum. The issue is the same. We are taxed enough already. Yeah. Government, live within your means. Respect the jurisdictional limitations of the Constitution of the United States. This marvelous movement will lead the way, and just as you brought the verve and the vibrancy to the 2010 election, that will be the verve and the vibrancy for 2012. Because I don't see Barack Obama changing his stripes between now and 2012. No matter how many marketers he has trying to rebrand him as the next Ronald Reagan, if you see the next Ronald Reagan, Barack Obama, I mean, we weren't born yesterday. Okay, I think we figured this one out. What we want is what we've always wanted in the United States. We want to republish those ideals of the Declaration of Independence in our hearts once again. That we have been given our rights, not by government. We've been given our rights by a creator. That's where they came from. It was a creator that made us, not ourselves. Yeah. We're made in the image and likeness of a holy God, and because of that and that alone, we're given rights that only He can give, not a government. That's what Thomas Jefferson wrote. He said, your rights are inalienable. Government can't give them to you. Government can't take them away. That's your right. Just because you're alive and a human being, you get them. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the pursuit of happiness means, as the founders wrote, the right to keep the fruit of your labor. That's what it meant. Government our inalienable rights. to secure our inalienable rights. So if anyone wants to take away from you your life or your liberty, how about telling you what light bulb you can use? Take away your liberty. That's why I introduced the light bulb freedom of choice. For the purpose of securing those rights, and then we also know that government rules by the consent of the government.
Amen.
That's what so incensed me about this $105 billion. How in the world could you give your consent if you didn't even know that there was $105 billion of your money being spent? That's why I say this is done. I decided to draw a line in the sand, and I'm not going any further with this anymore. I'm fighting back. I'm putting a marker in the ground. We will repeal Obamacare. Medicine is the heart and soul and the crown jewel of socialism. We cannot allow this to abide in the United States of America. It will change our nation forever. I am not willing to abide that. You? No! That's why I came to New Hampshire. Because you have figured it out. You know what there is to do. We have a journey in front of us. You paved the way. The rest of the country needs to understand what New Hampshire has done so phenomenally. We need to repeat your success story all across the United States. I want you to know that I am in for 2012 to be a part of making sure that Barack Obama is a one-term. Because the nation was founded on a miracle. And I just think we can have a miracle again.
Amen.